Dad chose my brother's camping trip over my wedding, a journey of hurt, regret, and rebuilding. Yesterday, I got married. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, filled with love, celebration, and the beginning of a new chapter. Instead, it turned into a mix of joy, disappointment, and emotional confrontation. My dad, who was supposed to walk me down the aisle, didn't show up, not because he couldn't, but because he chose my brother's camping trip over my wedding. This decision not only hurt me, but also forced me to rethink my relationship with him. The aftermath of this situation left me questioning if I had done the right thing by asking my stepdad to walk me down the aisle instead. My dad's sudden appearance at the reception, tears streaming down his face, begging for another chance to make things right, has left me torn between standing my ground and giving him the forgiveness he seeks. Let me take you back to the beginning and explain how it all unfolded. 5 months ago, my fiancé and I got engaged. We'd been together for 4 years, and our relationship had been nothing short of amazing. Naturally, when he proposed, I said yes, without hesitation. We didn't want a big, extravagant wedding. Both of us preferred something small and intimate, just close family and friends, in the comfort of our backyard. When we chose the date, we realized it coincided with our 4th anniversary. It felt perfect, like a full-circle moment. We were excited to celebrate our love on a day that already meant so much to us. However, the simplicity of our wedding didn't mean it wasn't important to us. We spent months planning, choosing decorations, finalizing catering, and coordinating with vendors. Everything seemed to be falling into place, and we were counting down the days. But then, a week before the wedding, I received a call from my dad. At first, my dad told me he wouldn't be able to attend my wedding due to a medical emergency. Naturally, I was concerned and asked him if everything was okay. But as the conversation progressed, it became clear that his excuse didn't add up. "Dad," I said, my tone firm but confused, "what kind of medical emergency can wait for a week?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, he sighed and confessed. "It's not a medical emergency," he admitted. "Your brother surprised me with a camping trip this weekend, and, well, it's the only time he'll be in town this year. I can't miss it." My heart sank. My dad had chosen a camping trip with my brother over walking me down the aisle. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of disbelief and anger. He tried to justify his decision, saying that my brother only visits once a year, and this was a rare opportunity for them to spend quality time together. He even suggested I reschedule the wedding, claiming it wouldn't be difficult since it was just a small backyard event. "It's not just a date on the calendar, Dad," I explained. "It's the day of our anniversary. It's special to us." But no matter how much I tried to make him understand, he had already made up his mind. Adding to the complexity of our family dynamic was the fact that our parents divorced when I was in middle school. The divorce was messy, stemming from my mom's affair. My brother took my dad's side, cutting off all contact with our mom, while I chose to maintain a relationship with her and her new husband. This decision further strained my relationship with my dad. He saw my choice as a betrayal and began treating me with cold indifference. After the divorce, my mom married the man she had an affair with. While my brother refused to acknowledge him, I grew to appreciate my stepdad. He was kind, supportive, and always treated me with respect. Over time, he became a father figure to me, especially as my relationship with my biological dad grew more distant. When my mom passed away from cancer 6 years ago, my stepdad was my rock. He helped me through the grief and stayed in touch even after moving out of state. While we don't talk every day, our bond remains strong. Fast forward to my wedding day. My dad didn't show up as expected. My stepdad, who was originally invited as a guest, stepped in and walked me down the aisle. The ceremony was beautiful, and I should have been happy, but a part of me couldn't stop thinking about my dad. I sent him a photo of my stepdad walking me down the aisle, hoping to evoke some kind of reaction. Hours later, he showed up at the reception, crying. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice trembling. "I made a huge mistake. Please, let me make it right." Let's have another ceremony tomorrow so I can walk you down the aisle. I was stunned. His desperation was palpable, but I couldn't help but wonder if his regret was genuine or if it stemmed from seeing my stepdad take his place. I asked him point blank if he would have felt the same way if I hadn't asked my stepdad to step in. His hesitation said it all. "This isn't about me," I told him. "It's about you and the choices you've made." He broke down, pleading for forgiveness. He admitted that he had taken me for granted and prioritized my brother for most of my life. He promised to do better, but I wasn't ready to forgive him. Not yet. "I needed you, Dad," I said, my voice cracking. "And you weren't there. You chose a camping trip over your daughter's wedding. I can't just forget that." In the days following the wedding, my dad continued to call and text, apologizing and begging for another chance. I decided to take some time to reflect. While I'm not ready to rebuild our relationship just yet, I'm open to the possibility in the future. For now, I'm focusing on my new life with my husband. My stepdad, who stepped up when I needed him most, will always hold a special place in my heart. This journey has taught me the importance of setting boundaries and standing up for myself. It's also reminded me that forgiveness is a process, one that takes time, understanding, and genuine effort from both sides. After my dad left the reception that evening, I sat in silence, replaying everything that had happened. My husband, ever the calming presence, sat next to me and held my hand. "You did the right thing," he said gently, sensing the guilt that lingered in my mind. "You've spent your whole life accommodating him, and this time, you stood up for yourself. That's something to be proud of." I nodded, but the heavy weight in my chest remained. It wasn't just about the wedding, it was about years of being overlooked and undervalued. It was about feeling like I had to fight for my dad's love while my brother received it effortlessly. A few days later, my husband and I left for our honeymoon, a much-needed escape from the family drama. We'd chosen a quiet, picturesque destination where we could relax and focus on each other. The stress of the wedding and the confrontation with my dad melted away as we strolled along the beach, hand in hand. For the first time in weeks, I felt at peace. But even as I tried to immerse myself in the beauty around me, thoughts of my dad crept in. I found myself wondering if I had been too harsh or if there was any way to salvage our relationship. My husband encouraged me to take things one step at a time. "Don't rush into anything," he said. "If he truly wants to fix things, he'll wait for you to be ready." Midway through our honeymoon, I received an unexpected call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered, and to my surprise, it was my brother. "I know you're probably going to hang up, but hear me out," he said quickly before I could respond. I stayed on the line, partly out of curiosity and partly because I wanted to hear what he had to say. He launched into a lecture about family and how I was being unfair to our dad. "You've always been jealous of me," he said bluntly, "and now you're taking it out on Dad. He's been miserable since your wedding. Can't you just forgive him?" His words stung, but they also fueled my resolve. I calmly explained to him that this wasn't about jealousy. It was about years of feeling like I didn't matter. "You've always had Dad's attention and support," I said. "I've had to fight for every scrap of his love. This isn't about you, so stay out of it." Before he could respond, I ended the call. It felt strangely liberating to stand up to him after years of letting his arrogance go unchecked. When we returned home from our honeymoon, I knew it was time to address the situation with my dad. I couldn't ignore it forever, but I also didn't want to jump back into a relationship that had caused me so much pain. I decided to visit him, alone, and lay everything out on the table. When I arrived at his house, he looked surprised to see me. My brother was there too, but I asked to speak to my dad privately. Begrudgingly, my brother left the room, and my dad and I sat down to talk. "I want to be honest with you," I began. "I'm still hurt by what you did. You've always prioritized my brother over me, and this time it was too much." He listened quietly, his expression a mix of guilt and sadness. I could see that my words were sinking in. "I'm not saying I'll never forgive you," I continued, "but I need time. I need you to respect that." He nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. I understand, he said. I just want you to know that I'm truly sorry. I want to make things right, but I'll wait for you to be ready. Over the next few months, I kept my distance from my dad, focusing on my new life with my husband. My dad occasionally sent messages to check in, but he respected my request for space. Meanwhile, my stepdad and I grew even closer. He and his wife came to visit us, and we spent hours reminiscing about my mom and sharing stories from the past. It was a reminder of the kind of love and support I deserved. As time went on, I began to feel ready to reconnect with my dad. I reached out to him and suggested meeting for coffee. He agreed immediately, and when we met, he seemed genuinely grateful for the chance to talk. We started slow, keeping our conversations light and avoiding any heavy topics. Over time, I saw that he was making an effort to show up for me in ways he hadn't before. While our relationship was far from perfect, it was a step in the right direction. Looking back on everything, I realized that this experience had taught me a lot about setting boundaries and valuing myself. For years, I had allowed myself to be treated as an afterthought, but my wedding was the turning point. I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing someone's actions. It means acknowledging the hurt and choosing to move forward in a way that protects your peace. For me, that meant keeping my dad at arm's length until I felt ready to let him in again. As I write this, I feel a sense of closure. My dad and I are on the path to rebuilding our relationship, but it's on my terms this time. My brother and I, on the other hand, remain estranged, and I'm okay with that. Most importantly, I've found happiness with my husband and the family we're building together. My stepdad continues to be a source of love and support, proving that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who show up for you when it matters most. This journey hasn't been easy, but it's helped me grow stronger and more self-assured. And for that, I'm grateful.